Hello, Tungsten Miner here. This is going to be the beginning of a mod spotlight series on RFTools, which is a fairly large mod that adds a lot of advanced machinery to your mod pack based around RF energy. So if you're using thermal expansion to generate RF energy or some other mod, this adds to that. It does have a couple of generators on its own, but that's not really the point of this mod. Today, though, I'm going to focus on just one little sliver of the mod, which is its teleportation system. So let's jump in. Okay, getting started, the first thing I want to point out is this manual. So RFTools has 3 different manuals. This is the first one, and it gives you a pretty exhaustive exploration of all of the different things that are available in the whole mod. So you can see 75 pages in this one manual alone. And today I'm going to focus on just this teleporting system, which is, as you can see, only one little piece of what all is available here. Definitely pick up a copy of that and keep it handy as you're working. Okay, so first thing to talk about is the 3 most essential pieces for any teleporting system. You've got your matter transmitter, which is what you use to start the teleport. You've got a matter receiver, which is where you're going to wind up at the end of the teleport. And you've got the dialing device, which connects the 2 of these things together. So let's take a look here. So all of these machines require power, and this internal buffer is now full. I have power underneath the stone here, so we don't have to look at that. It's identified the transmitter that is closest to it, so this guy right here. And it's found the 4 receivers that are in this world. And there are only 4 of them, so it found every single possible one. And this is across any dimension or at any distance. So it really found every single one. There's only 4. In this interface, we've got the ability to just crack open the manual directly to this page. We can cycle through a couple of different styles for the interface. I keep it on the simplest one. And if we want to teleport, the simplest thing to do is click receiver A, dial, and now we get this green beam, which allows us to jump on the pad, and now here we are. We're at the destination. If we only wanted to make that trip once, then we could have hit dial once. So I'm going to interrupt this beam. So now this is no longer a teleporter, not doing anything. And I can hit receiver A, dial once, and this time when I go through, we can see the beam has automatically gone away. So dial is great when you want to set up a permanent connection between 2 places. Dial once is great when you want to use the same pad to teleport to lots of different places and you don't necessarily know which one you're going to want to go to. Also available in this interface, we can favorite things. And then down here, we can say filter to show only the favorites. And interrupt allows us, as you saw, to stop the beam. So if I had, for example, dialed this guy, then I can say interrupt and stop it right now. And finally, check we'll get back to later. So that's the basic setup. And if you did nothing more than just these few things, you'd be in pretty good shape. But what happens when your receiver doesn't have any power? Well, let's find out here. So we're going to say receiver B, dial once, and I'm going to jump up on here and killed by magic. So I have an instantaneous damage effect and a wither effect piled on top of me, the combination of which is enough to knock me out in pretty short order. And since I have a gravestone mod installed in this mod pack, here's my grave right on top of the pad. So let's clear that out of the way, and we can dump this obituary. So what do we do if we have this situation where we might have a receiver that runs out of power? Well, one, even your remote receivers at that little mining shack you've got way off in the mountains somewhere, make sure to try and keep it powered. Maybe you keep a battery there that you refill when you come and visit. Maybe there's a little generator that you use and you throw a few chunks of coal in there when you come and visit. Whichever way you go about it, try and keep these things filled. But there is something you can do in case you're not able to do that. This is a matter booster device. So let's take a look at... I haven't actually looked at the recipes for these, but they're pretty straightforward. So you need some ender pearls, which is the not straightforward part. But apart from that, iron, redstone, machine frame, any kind of blue pigment, iron, gold nuggets. So not super cheap, but also not absurdly expensive either. Once you've gotten to the end and you have a steady supply of ender pearls, this all becomes quite a lot easier. The matter receiver is the same thing, it's just upside down. And our matter booster is a whole bunch of blocks of redstone with a destination analyzer, which is a block we'll talk about a bit later, but that's just this machine frame with some ender pearls around it. So we'll get back to that destination analyzer in a bit. So here I've got my matter booster, which must be adjacent to the matter transmitter that I want to use it with. And then I've got my dialing device. So I'm going to go from my boosted transmitter to my receiver B, which, remember, you killed me just now. So when I transport this time, you can see I took a little bit of damage, a heart and a half, and I got a very mild nausea effect. So this matter booster is well worth making for any transmitter you intend to use frequently. So I always add one to the matter transmitter that's the main one for my base. And that way I can always be at least safe, we'll say, when I transmit to some distant receiver which may have run out of power in the interim. This device is powered. This device is powered. The matter booster actually is not powered, so you just need to place it down next to the transmitter you wish to affect. Okay, so now let's explore another device that we have here, the simple dialer. So let's say you've got a place where you always want to connect a transmitter back to a certain receiver. Maybe the transmitter's at some remote location, and all you ever want it to do is to come exactly back to your base. So they have a simple dialer. The recipe for that is one of these machine base blocks, just some stone and gold nuggets, along with a whole lot of redstone. And then we're going to want this smart wrench here. And we're going to want a crescent hammer. So the simple dialer works. It doesn't have an interface, so you can't pick and choose destinations, but you shift right click on the receiver and shift right click on the transmitter, and then pop it down on the world. And here I can right click to change it between dial once or not dial once, so just stay dialed. So I'm going to change this to dial once mode. And then I'm going to use a crescent hammer to turn it around. So you can see that this little triangle is next to my pressure plate. So when this thing receives a redstone signal, it dials the two matter receiver and matter transmitters. And when it receives another one, it'll turn it off if it's not in single dial mode, which it is. But here, if I go through, it's now turned itself off. And if I wish to teleport again, I need to step on that pressure plate one more time. So this is good for setting yourself up to have a dialing device that's fixed between two locations. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about this destination analyzer. That's this guy right here. So the recipe for that is this. So your machine frame in the center, ender pearls in the corners. You set up one of these things next to your dialing device. And that enables, let's say we're going to go from this transmitter to this receiver. It enables this check button. So I click check, it uses a tiny bit of power, and then it tells me it's safe to transmit myself over to that receiver. But you remember, this destination, this receiver B, is the one that has no power. And if I check that one, it says matter receiver power too low, dangerous to transmit there. Now, if I know that I've got a matter booster attached to my teleport pad, then it's probably going to be fine because I'm going to take a small amount of damage, get a little bit of nausea, no big deal. But if I know that I'm thinking to teleport from someplace that does not have a booster, then I definitely don't want to do this. I will almost certainly get killed. So a handy addition to your setup. Okay, and finally for this video, here's the full range of things all together. So here I've got a dialing device in the center here, facing upwards. So you just point downwards, look downwards when you place them, and they'll face up instead of sideways. I've got a matter booster over here next to the transmitter. Remember, they must be adjacent. I've got my destination analyzer over here, which just needs to be connected to this guy in some fashion. Doesn't necessarily need to be where it is. But I found that this little formation is the most easy and compact way to set up something in your base. So I can dialer from, say, this transmitter to this receiver, dial once, stand on here, go over here. Pretty straightforward and nice and compact. Remember, though, that several of these machines require power, so I've got a power grid underneath here. Okay, very quick mod spotlight this time. Not a lot to talk about. The teleportation system, thankfully, is pretty straightforward. So remember, down at the beginning here, we've got our RFTools manual, which has all this stuff explained as a reference in the game. The most basic system is going to be just a dialing device, a transmitter, and a receiver. All of these require power. Remember, it's dangerous to teleport to someplace that does not have power. You can ameliorate that, but not entirely eliminate the ill effects by using a matter booster. If you want to just connect one point to another, you've got the simple dialer. You can use the destination analyzer to check that a destination is safe before teleporting. And here's a nice little configuration that keeps everything nice and compact for your base. So transmitter, matter booster, dialer, matter destination analyzer, and matter receiver. And that's it for this time around. Talk to you later.